Picture this, it's 1915, World War I. German soldiers are advancing on the Russian-held WWI fortress. They feel confident, maybe even invincible. But then, they see something that makes their blood run cold. They turn and flee in sheer terror. Why? Because the men they thought were dead were rising up and charging straight at them. This isn't a zombie movie. This is a real historical event known as the Attack of the Dead Men. Let's set the scene. The WWI fortress was a critical defensive point on the Eastern Front, located in what is now modern-day Poland. The Germans had been trying to capture it for months, but the Russian defenders were holding strong. Frustrated, the Germans decided to unleash a new, horrifying weapon: chemical warfare. At 4 a.m. on August 6, 1915, the Germans released a massive wave of chlorine gas. It was a dark, greenish-yellow cloud that drifted slowly towards the Russian trenches. The Russians were completely unprepared. They had no gas masks, no real protection. Their only defense was a desperate, last-ditch effort, soaking rags in water or even urine and pressing them to their faces. It was a futile gesture against the poison. The chlorine gas was devastating. It's a heavy gas that sinks into low-lying areas, filling every trench and dugout. It reacts with the moisture in the lungs to form hydrochloric acid, essentially dissolving the tissue from the inside out. Soldiers were blinded, their skin was burned, and they coughed up pieces of their own lungs. The green grass turned black, and tree leaves wilted and fell. It was a vision of hell on earth. Thousands of Russian soldiers were incapacitated or killed within minutes. Believing the fortress was now an open grave, German infantry, numbering around 7,000 men, began their advance. They expected to walk in and take the position without a fight, simply stepping over the bodies of the dead. But as they approached the Russian lines, something unbelievable happened. Out of the toxic green fog, figures began to emerge. These were the last surviving defenders of the 13th Company of the 226th Zemlyansky Regiment, led by a sub-lieutenant named Vladimir Kotlinski. There were only about 100 of them left, and they were, for all intents and purposes, dying men. Their faces were covered in chemical burns, their uniforms were stained with blood, and they were literally coughing up their own insides. They were wrapped in bloody rags, their eyes red and raw, but they weren't surrendering. Instead, with a sound that was more of a horrifying death rattle than a battle cry, they fixed their bayonets and charged. Imagine the sight for the German soldiers. Men who should be dead, men who looked like corpses reanimated, were running at them, still firing their rifles. The psychological shock was immense. The Germans, so certain of their victory, broke ranks and fled in a panic, many getting tangled in their own barbed wire or falling into the very traps they had set. The dead men then retook their own trenches and even manned the fortress guns, turning them on the retreating Germans. Though the fortress would eventually be abandoned by the Russians, this single, desperate counterattack became legendary. It showed a level of courage that defies belief. These weren't zombies or ghosts. They were men who, in their final moments, chose to fight rather than simply die. History remembers their impossible bravery as the Attack of the Dead Men. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more incredible stories from history.